Hi everyone, how you doing today? It is Wednesday Words time again, and I am actually here on time and relatively organized. Yay! The nano brain is starting to kick back in, which is a good thing. It's a very good thing. Just briefly, I have 2 guaranteed appearances upcoming. One is this Saturday, the Fitchburg Forage-In, which is at Riverside Park in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. And it's a beautiful, fun thing. So there's one end of the event has modern blacksmiths doing modern sculpture and such. And then the other end has some more medieval and older forms of blacksmithing, plus our little medieval village. And I'll be doing a cooking demo, and I will have books to sell. So the world is good. Excuse me. So there's that. And I'm really looking forward to it. This is kind of the last event of our main season, and it's such a lovely close to the season because it's usually not overly hot, but it's not cold or rainy or gross. And it looks like it's going to be a gorgeous day. And if you have any interest at all in blacksmithing, modern or historical, you want to come to this event because the guys and gals who are doing this, they are phenomenal. They're just amazing. The following Saturday on October 8th, I think it's from 9 till 3, I will be at Jaffrey's Scarecrow on the Commons. And this is a yearly event that Jaffrey, New Hampshire does. And they get everybody together and they build scarecrows and they get put up around town. And it's really cool and fun. And this year there will be some vendors. And there's also going to be, I think, a little craft fair thing happening either at the women's club or the high school. So there's other things to do in the area as well. Really great. Gives you, you can get some fall decor. Usually there's people who have those little like cloths that hang on your stove to dry your hands and things like that. There's usually all sorts of amazing wood crafts and glass crafts, and of course my own cookbook. And I won't be doing a cooking demo at Scarecrow because I can't do a fire, but I will be having my little setup in my tent, so I should stand out fairly well. And I hope you'll come and visit, see me in costume. And if you already have a cookbook and you would like it signed, heavens, bring it along. I will happily sign that for you. Beyond that, I don't have any centered plans at this time, but I have started getting in requests to go to libraries for nano events. So as I find out what those are, I will be putting them up online. And those who are interested in coming to nano events or who want to meet me or want to learn more about NaNoWriMo or meet other authors. Usually they have several of us there at a go. So I hope I will see many of you there. And for those who are entering into National Novel Writing Month, which is November 1st through 30th, we're getting kind of close, here. It's less like a month away. A month, guys, just a month. That's not a lot of time. And it's kind of stressful. I'm like, oh my goodness, I got to get stuff done. I don't know what it is about talking on camera that gets me yawning, but it does every time. Seriously. Okay. At least you know I'm a real person, right? So this week in the NaNoWriMo Prep 101 workshop guide thing, we are focusing on character development and questionnaires. So they have on NaNoWriMo, they have this massive questionnaire that you can answer, and it has, let's see, name, age, height, eye color, physical appearance, unique physical attributions, favorite clothing, style, outfit, where do they live, what's the weather like, defining gestures or movements, kind of like, Spock with the eyebrow, things about their appearance they'd most like to change, speaking style, pet peeves, fondest memory, and so on. So this is something that you absolutely 100% can do, and it is really, really cool. It helps you develop your characters. They suggest doing it with basically most of your main characters, everybody who has, a speaking part. I find that's a little bit much. I usually do it for one or two specific characters, and then I have lesser things I do for my other characters, because it's just, the idea is not to create characters, is not to spend all your time creating characters and not writing the story. But I have to say that sometimes in the developing of a character, you actually end up creating storylines which turn out to be really important and a lot of fun. So, it's definitely worth doing that. But I wanted to go over some of the tools that we have for doing this. So I have the NaNoWriMo prep stuff, which has tons of questions you can answer, and you can do as many or as few of those as you want. Again, the idea is to develop your character, but not to the point of hating it. It's supposed to be something that you are working on. Usually not something that takes over your life, if that helps. The second part of it, of the NaNoWriMo prep, talks about your supporting characters, your antagonist, or if you don't have an antagonist, because it was pointed out a few times to people that we don't always have a person who is an antagonist. There are some stories that are about surviving cancer or dealing with molestation or whatever. There are all sorts of things, and sometimes your antagonist is a thing, cancer, or a situation, 9/11, not a person. And it's important to realize that and deal with it and do what you can with it. And then there are 3 big character questions they have you ask. What does your main character want more than anything in the world? What do they need to grow as a person, which is not necessarily the same thing as what they want? And what major flaws or internal problems and obstacles, external problems, will stand in their way? And then at the end of the Nano prep thing, they say, remember, some people have no idea what their character's like till they're finished their first draft, and that's okay. And yes, it is absolutely okay. If you are a pantser and are just kind of gonna make this happen as it happens, there might not be a lot of prep in this. Like I've said in the past, I like doing something that's kind of a hybrid approach where I don't spend a lot of time writing down all of the notes for my upcoming book. What I do is I spend time creating the characters and the world, and then picking out some major plot points, whether those are plot points directly affecting the characters, as in, they fall in love, someone dies, or plot points that happen in the world. I mentioned 9/11. So if you're dealing with something that's historical, you have built-in plot points because those things actually happened. And if you want to incorporate those into your story, you can. Just beware that it needs to be your writing. Don't steal somebody else's stuff, because that's not cool. So the questionnaire is really good. I find it a bit much, but it's good. It's a good place to start. And certainly for your main character or the 2 main characters of your story, it's worthwhile to go through that process. I'm so sorry. I'm probably making everybody else yawn too. And then on the NaNoWriMo.org, NaNoWriMo-prep-101 number week 2, they have 51 questions you've probably never asked your characters. They have a character generator. They have choosing your protagonist's gender, writing with color, which is resources about writing characters of color. They have a webcast, games to develop your character, and a video, 5 situations to deepen your characters. And then they have something called the Adoption Society Forum. So if you're not entirely sure what you're doing or where you're going with your story, you can go and adopt plots and characters that other people have come up with but don't want to finish fleshing out or have decided not to use. And you're allowed to go and take those characters and incorporate them into your own story. I haven't borrowed anything from the Adoption Society, but I have made a few things. Sometimes I have great character ideas and they're stuck in my head and I have to get them out, but they're not anything I want to write about. So I give them to the Adoption Society and I let somebody else write the book, because I will tell you, I would get really excited learning that somebody had taken one of my character ideas and turned them into a person and then wrote a book about it. I would totally buy that. So yeah, that is NaNoWriMo prep this week. It's character creation and character development time. And whether that's just giving your characters some names or it's coming up with a huge, long, dedicated background, totally up to you how you play with it. But creating your characters is an important part of storytelling, and you need to know them. Now, I'll give you some examples from me when I'm writing my vampire novels. Alexandra Taylor is essentially me when I was younger and more fit and less heavy and pre-baby and all that stuff. I based that character on myself as I wanted to be, or as I would have liked to have been. It's not where I would go now with all the years of experience in between, but at the time that I created Alexandra, that was where I wanted to go. And that's a great way to make a character. It gives you very much personal insight in. It gives you a built-in background, which you can manipulate a little bit to fit your world. And it means that you have a very strong sense of that character, which makes it believable. But, and here's a big one, when you are writing a character that is based on yourself or someone you know really well, a spouse, a friend, you have to be careful. Not so much that you're going to tell secrets, because generally you know not to do that, but that you don't assume other people know what you know. So for instance, I might write a story that included my best friend, and in it, I know that her favorite colors are red. And so I use those as kind of a plot device to show something important is happening. And that's great. But if I don't explain that to the characters, to the people reading, they have no idea. The fact that I know it doesn't mean that you, the reader, know it. And so that's something that you really need to focus on and make sure that you haven't accidentally created cues for something that isn't there. The other thing that I always suggest to people when they're doing creating characters and worlds is going to something called World Anvil. And it's just like it's a WORLDANVIL.com. WorldAnvil.com. And it was originally designed for Dungeons and Dragons people who wanted to do character creation, world creation, to put maps and things in. But as somebody who's working in my vampire world, it gives me the ability to do a timeline, so I can go back and look and see, when did Alexandra get turned into a vampire? Oh, okay. When did this character do this? And it lets me keep track of all the dates and times. And from my fantasy world perspective, it's really helpful because it lets me write down my magic spells. It lets me write down, the important things about the world that I've created and all the fine details that go into that world building that help bring the characters and the world alive. And World Anvil lets you put it all down in one place. They are not the only program out there. There are others that are like it. Look up world building programs, online programs, on Google or whatever you use. You'll find there are dozens of them. World Anvil was the first one I started using. I happen to like it and I recommend it because it's good. But there you go. Go forth and create characters, round them out, know them inside and out. Even if you never write those things down, know your characters yourself, because as a writer, I can tell you, your characters are A, not going to do what you want them to, and B, they're going to argue with you. When I wrote Bloodstone, that story's original ending was to have everybody die at the end. Everybody was supposed to die. Like 90% of the characters in my notes died. And then I got towards the end of the book and the character stood up and went, I don't think so. So yeah, your characters will argue with you and 99% of the time they win. I don't know why, because they don't have external voices and they live in my head, but they win. So be prepared for that. Know them, because their sass, their sarcasm, their pliability, their everything will come back to haunt you. So, all right, go forth, create. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Share this podcast with others if you know anybody who's starting up NaNoWriMo and is looking for support. I probably will do some write-ins where I open a Google Hangout and let people just come and hang out and ask questions and talk and write together. So when November gets here, we'll look at that. And I hope I see some of you at Scarecrow in the Commons. And if you're going to be at King Richard's Fair on Sunday, I will be there. So you can look for me. Have a great weekend.